Hi everyone, I'm Cullen Haynes and I love lawyers, and welcome to the LHL Story Series. Joining me today is Mr. James Diapici from Makinson Diapici Lawyers, the man, the myth, the legend.
Now, I'm Cullen, delighted. Thank you. I've got to be ugly with you. I've got to talk pronunciation. I'm sorry, Dapici. I'm so sorry, Makinson Dapici. Guys, we talk Mac. And there's old stories about, former receptionists and people who assisted who found my fairly difficult surname, Dapici, hard to pronounce, and that's fine. But they eventually got there. But apparently the Makinson was just completely impossible to get over. So it became a Scottish sort of Makinson or something like that. But yeah, Makinson Dapici. But Cullen, delighted to be here, mate. Thank you for having me.
No, it's an honour to have you here. And in terms of my first question, I wanted to pose it to you because you've had such a varied life so far. If you were to describe your life so far using film titles, what would they be and why?
So you were good enough to give me notice on this one. So the joke one is 12 Years a Slave. Of course.
Solomon Northrop, right?
Yeah, or The Matrix or Groundhog Day or something like that. I'm sorry to do it to you, mate.
I just went everywhere, but nonetheless.
And this is real corny, and I've become one of those awful people who loves their job, Cullen, and I'm... there was this 2006 film, I think, that Danny Boyle made where the solar system was dying, and the film was called Sunshine, Cullen. And so let's leave the grim and dark ones behind. Let's go with Sunshine.
Sunshine. I think that's a nice place to lead off with. So obviously you've had such a varied life so far, and what I really like is like how you've molded all of them into your current role as a lawyer, right?
Hope so.
So one thing I really like is that not many people know you used to be on radio. Is that correct?
It is. I was really super lucky to be a part of FBI Radio, an awesome community radio station in Sydney. I co-hosted a show with, are you allowed to say best friend? We sort of say blood brother, Shag, Tom McMullen, who's amazing, who's doing amazing creative work now in the creative copywriting space. And it was a huge blast, and got to speak to musicians and listen to songs very loud in a soundproof studio, and it was a real good time. And the other thing about FBI is that it's really compelling listening, and anytime you tune in, now then future, there is a feeling of being at the coalface. There is a feeling of being like, oh, there's something happening here that is exciting. I think it's a real cultural moment. No, not moment, the opposite. I think it's a real cultural element in Sydney that's going to last a long time, and I'm deeply proud to have it as part of my background, part of my DNA, my professional DNA. So FBI.
Fantastic. Shout out to them.
Yes.
All right. And obviously music obviously ties in well with music. You've got a love of music, a passion for music. So do I. I wouldn't want my Spotify list played in the office. But let me ask you, if you had the option of putting your office music on and put the Spotify playlist on your phone, would you do it?
Yes. And I think we have before. It's a really odd mix at the moment. I've been going through this weird reminiscing moment where in the early 2000s I listened to a lot of sort of indie rap music, sort of very like angst rap essentially, and I was like, oh, Spotify exists now, it's the future, I can call these songs up right now just as soon as they jump into my head. And I've been clicking through them, and they've all aged incredibly badly, and not even the power of nostalgia is getting me through these sort of angsty rap songs that don't really have a big interest for me these days. Like, the song that I've most enjoyed recently was, it was probably Post Malone's Wow that he just pushed out in late December. So that probably shows how much my taste in music has degenerated. but there's no place for nostalgia.
Absolutely, it's got a place everywhere, and it just brings to mind the fact that one of our conversations on LinkedIn, we were talking about music, and I love new wave, and Space Age love songs, one of my favourites. But going back to where we got to that point, I actually came across your profile on LinkedIn 6 months ago through the coffee and a case note. So like Troy McClure, you may remember me. This man is the star of the coffee and a case note series, and it's just having great traction, right? Like.
Well, Cullen, with thanks to you
My
and no
pleasure.
small part, it's enjoyable. This almost links back to the sunshine point of like I'm at this funny moment in my career where I'm kind of like, oh, I think I like this. I think I like my job. And
It's good that you think that.
Yeah. it's kind of this moment of like, all right, well, what is it about the way I go about it that I can share and hopefully give some value to other people with? And the idea for the video sort of came with a number of strands coming together.
Yes.
I started lurking on LinkedIn saying, all right, what are people doing? What are people enjoying? I started to get some value for myself.
Correct.
And sort of thought, yeah, okay, what am I getting value from? What am I enjoying? I started to think about my skill set. I was like, well, doing monologues to a little phone, much like this one, although mine's in.
No, this is a big production. What are you talking about? We've got the cameraman, wave to
Quiet
him.
down back there, everyone. Keep it down.
Put the boom mic a little bit higher,
Keep it
please.
down. The catering goes over there. And so I sort of, there was an element of rolling the dice. Of like, I think this might be valuable. I think I might be someone who can execute it to an okay level.
Yes.
And let's have a crack. And the other element, Cullen, is that, you know, I'm not here for a haircut. And so, look...
You have a fantastic haircut.
Although although perhaps I need another one shortly. But, I mean, the other element's the blunt kind of branding, business development element where hopefully I'm giving a lot of value to people and I'm not expecting anything in a transactional way. But my hope is that by sort of sharing a lot of value with people and saying, look, if there's anything here that teaches you something or entertains you or anything like that, then perhaps in future, you know, there might be a space to have a chat with me about some other subjects as well. And so I'm just trying to take a bit of a hands-off, no expectations approach to sharing a bit of value and seeing what happens.
No, I think, and it's great. It's like, I find it quality content delivered consistently, and it's the vein of Chuck Muddle, who I know you and I are big followers of. You know, value, and then ask.
I didn't grow up watching boxing, but my understanding of the analogy is jab, 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 right hook. So I think jab's the little left-hand one. So you're sort of manoeuvring someone into a spot, and then you throw a right hook. You know, boxing is probably the sport that is the most boring to watch and most interesting to read about.
Yes, unless you're watching Rocky. Yo, Adrian!
I haven't done it yet, Cullen. I'm going to have to add it to
I can't talk to you anymore. Stop the interview right there. No. We'll fix that. But no.
I'll add it to the to-do list.
Yes. So, obviously, you are a very successful lawyer. I'd like to ask you, because...
No, not yet. But we'll cross that figure.
We'll cross that field. Anyway, if you know anything about my journey, obviously, I've gone through a few different careers in my time. Radiography, hospitality, and obviously now finance and broking for the last few years. I wish I had someone back in the day that, you know, said it's all right to test things and all right to try things, and just a little bit more explanation about what's out there. If you could speak to a 6-year-old child about law, how would you describe it?
I have a 6-year-old child, so that
wonderful.
That helps.
That wasn't planned.
No, I didn't tell you that actually, did I? 853 is the range in our household, so we run the full gamut. Sorry, I say 853. 863.
863.
Sorry, my darling.
We love you.
And it was a great party. The way I explain it, Cullen, is very, I'm afraid, I help people.
Okay.
And while that is true in a broad sense, I think there's scope for me to, in years to come, explain what that means, because lots of people help people, and a paramedic or a firefighter or some other amazing professional might well explain to their 6-year-old that they help people. But for the moment, I go, I help people, and I help them argue about their business, and if they disagree about their business, then, you know, potentially I can help.
Okay.
And that's about as far as I'm able to take it, because they get very, very bored. I'm married to an excellent vet, right? One of the childhood toys given to our first child was a sort of play emergency vehicle. It's an emergency vet
Wonderful. Okay.
vehicle. And so this is part of our toy arsenal in the toy mess in our house that any parent has in their house, a mess of toys. And my thought at the time was, okay, that's the veterinary emergency vehicle. It's like, surely next year for your next birthday you'll get a commercial disputes emergency vehicle as well that'll reflect my my background too.
No.
But yeah, look, seriously, it's a really interesting thought to say, all right, you asking it forces you to kind of boil down of like, yeah, okay, well, what is it about what I do that I want to convey?
In a simple way, easy to understand.
And so I turn to the word help, and there might be some opponents or former clients who don't necessarily
just look into the camera a little bit there
about help. But another version of your question is, how do you want it to be perceived in the most condensed way possible?
Correct.
Helpful.
Helpful. And when people leave the room, right?
Yes.
What are they speaking about?
Behind my back, they're saying, get a haircut, shine your shoes.
Absolutely. And going back to that, obviously, your partner's a vet. So do you have pets in your household?
Yes, we've got 2 dogs and a cat.
And how would your 2 dogs and a cat describe you if I asked them for a reference?
The cat would say reliable. The youngest dog would say moody. The oldest dog would say ride or die, down for life, bros forever.
Dog life.
Yes, that's right.
Cool. My second to last question is obviously coffee. You and me are big fans of it. I love an almond latte. I know that's probably the most pretentious drink you can get when you order it.
No, I stand in the way of that. I think the time is coming, and this is maybe not the time to talk about going vegan.
I did try that. I ended up eating Oreos for 2 weeks, so I couldn't do it.
I'm not vegan. I'm not veggie, but I feel like you're the future in a number of ways, Cullen, including having a chit chat with lawyers and publicly saying you love them, which is a dangerous view to take. But I feel like there's an element where post-dairy milk in coffees is actually going to become a real mainstream thing. I sometimes get sort of almond and macadamia milk and a little piccolo that's very drinkable. History is going to prove you right on almond lattes.
I think so. And you won't be paying extra for it. It'll be the norm, I think. You know, because if that's the only choice, then why would you pay extra?
Well, and we can have a chat about factory farming and all other sorts of benefits.
Maybe for our PETA show that we're going to launch in the show.
Let's do it.
But I'd really like to finish off with this question. It's one of my personal favourites because I'm all about what legacy are we going to leave behind, and it's I think about it often. So I'm going to pose this question to you, and you can take a moment to think about it. When all is said and done, how would you like to be remembered?
Yes. I appreciate the theatre, Cullen, and you did give me notice. So I appreciate the notice as well.
And the heart palms on the table.
Yes, sorry, I'll do that too. There were a number of thoughts that went through my head. And I thought about wanting to be perceived as competent, sort of a broad way, able to do the work. I wanted to be perceived as someone who had a little bit of empathy, was able to sort of understand one perspective and able to understand another perspective. And I kind of tried to boil it down on my phone on the train coming in this morning after we exchanged our messages. And I sort of got to a point where I sort of said, I'd kind of like to be thought of as someone who's sort of reasonably effective and who gave more than he took. And I kind of think that's how I'd like to be remembered.
That's a nice sentiment.
Hope so.
No, that's very good. And James, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for being on season 1, episode 1 of LHL Stories Histories.
I think this is a great thing you're on here, Cullen. I'm keen to be historically correct about this being a good idea. So I'm delighted to be on Ep 1. Well, delighted you'd have me.
Oh well, in the annals of history in 20 years' time, they're going to go back and they're going to say there he was at the very start of it. So thank you for tuning in, everyone. We're going to be coming out every week with a new episode. If you would like to be part of it, please feel free to reach out or DM or what have you, because we're very excited. And as we said, Cullen Haynes, and I love lawyers. Cheers. James, episode 1 done.
Yeah.
How do you think that went?
I think it went really well. Cullen, it's very, very nice, and you're right to stretch out. They're comfortable chairs.
Like if I
nice
got to
cup of tea.
look, how do I relax? Got to take my 3-piece off.
It works. Cullen, as I think I say in the vid, I think you're onto something. Excellent hosting, comfortable chairs, very attractive plant, nice ergonomic teacups. I think it's a Russian caravan tea that got me through.
Oh, very good. And the Royal Doulton with the hand-painted periwinkles, as
yes,
Mrs.
rightly
Bouquet
so.
would say.
If you can't quite see it from there, it's spot on. Spot on. So thanks for having me, Cullen.
No,
Great one.
it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.